Hey there, thank you so much for listening to Something Super Spiritual. My name is Jeffrey Peck, and I am a psychic medium. If you are seeking conversation with loved ones on the other side, or discussion about spirituality, life after life, and anything in between, join me as we discuss all things spirit. We are collectively experiencing a spiritual awakening right now and recognizing that we are much, much more than we once believed. We don't die, and life doesn't end. We are eternal spiritual beings living in this crazy 3D virtual world of existence. Let's talk about it. Debbie, welcome to Something Super Spiritual, the podcast. I'm so happy to see you face to face again.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Woo! It's always a delight just to speak with you in person. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Always. The last time we saw each other was on your Instagram live, and that was a
Yeah.
super fun night.
Yeah, that was really fun. We were working through confidence and we were talking about confidence. And I feel like that's just an everyday project for me. Like, let's build the confidence.
Always.
Let's go. Right?
Always. It's always an everyday. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, count to 10, and go.
Yes. Let's go.
So, Debbie, what is your backstory? Have you always been super dialed into spirit the way that you are? Did you grow up as a little girl, always feeling it, sensing it, seeing it?
You know, to be honest, when I was a little girl, I always had those dreams. And I can go back to 4 years old and working and where they'll say astral projection and fly away. And, you know, a lot of times not understanding what was happening. So I was very much around a lot of activity or just dreams and just the knowing and just not understanding. So I will say as a younger child, I was sensitive to things is the word I will use. And I will say later in life is really when I started to say something else is deeper happening than just anxiety, or something else is happening other than me knowing things and still not knowing the word medium or psychic, just seeing the things on TV and being like, I know I'm like that. And
Yeah.
that kind of deja vu feeling, I know I'm like this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
what were the synchronicities that led you to really recognizing spirit and that you were like that? Your first experiences with spirit that led you to
Okay.
really recognizing your calling?
I think going back, you know, as we journey, we always reflect back, and
Mhm.
that dream, that vivid dream of me flying, we'll say with the angels. I remember the angels showing me the city, and I was literally flying with them and observing the town, and I could see below me everything. Is like I was traveling everywhere, and that was so profound and so real for me. And just having conversation, that one really stays with me. um, and of course, just when you start to open up for someone and their validation comes through. And I'll say more in my 20s when I started to work at a little angel store nearby, not understanding again the word medium, and just saw this man work. And, you know, when you're in that energy, it amplifies you.
Mhm.
And so I started to really amplify, and I really started to dive deeper into the readings and say like, okay, there is more to this. I'm not making this up.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say 20s opened up really where I can say I can deliver a reading and really say, okay, this is where I can get validation. They understand what I'm saying. It's not me just talking and they're getting a message.
Sure.
So that was cool.
So, how long have you been doing this work professionally?
Professionally, wow. Okay. I would say about 8 years. Professionally, really diving in with, you know, mentors, circles,
Yeah.
groups. And I would say about a good 8 years. You know, a
Yeah.
majority of my journey more so was self-healing.
Oh, that was going to be my next question. So, what
Yeah.
were the challenges that you
Yeah.
experienced, overcame, really like going deep to
Oh my
get you through
gosh.
all of that, what were those challenges like for you?
Well, a lot of challenges that we face as mediums is first the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something is wrong with her, something is not right. So, we get depressed or we start to feel the emotions very heavily, not realizing we're picking up on someone else's energy. We're not given the tools for the hygiene, and we're not given that meditation. I was not taught meditation. I was
Mm-mm.
taught prayer, but not meditation. So there's a
Right.
difference. And so I remember waking up to a email on Facebook, or not an email, but a post, and being very sensitive that I am. I could feel I need this in my life. And that's where I started to dive into the meditation and really going into that deeper healing where the guides come in and giving them permission to give me that deeper blend that I needed, not realizing fully yet, even then, what was happening for me. I just knew that it felt good. I know my body needed it. And it was like a calling for me to be present. So, obstacles, one was, letting family know, hey, this is how I am, and just honoring how I feel and where I am as a person is important, right?
Right.
And it's someone who is psychic. Sometimes, yes, we develop because we want to, but then there are those that are just born this way and don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will say I had both. I will say I have both of that.
With respect to the family and the challenges that
Mhm.
you were just talking about, did you was your family involved in religion? Was that part of your?
Well, yeah. So I was very much raised in a Christian family.
Yes.
My mother was Christian. My father's a pastor, and to be honest, they're divorced. So mostly, I was more with my mother and my grandparents. Um, but I look at it still at the belief system of the family now. They are very Catholic. What we do is not, it's very frowned upon and not understood.
Yes.
I feel that the education in this work is so needed because there are so many of us out there that are afraid to step into this power because they are born this way, but the family doesn't understand it.
Yes. I understand that. Yeah, I grew up, the Christian life as well as a child, and my mother is um, very much, born again and looking at me with a raised eyebrow, but yet trying to be supportive, but not understanding, but trying to be supportive, but not understanding. And yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, so I would say that was probably a challenge that I still face today. You never know what is she going to say today. You never know what's going to come out of our mouths when we're talking about our journey and our life history, and it's for me. When I speak, it's healing for me. And so
Mm.
the challenges were anxiety. I did have PTSD. I did go through depression, and I had a lot of different things that I went through that took me to this place of self-healing. We say we go back to childhood, and I feel like a lot of that chapter has been worked through. I would say more in my adult years than more. Of course, we think we've done the work and more work is thrown to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to dive again into the work. And I said, experienced a situation where I had a near death experience, giving birth to my son. And
Really?
yeah, and losing everything, you stop working, you have to make means to make things work. And so for me, it was very hard. I was 16 years ago that happened. I was sitting with this in reflection, and I look at it and I feel like it's very much needed to be heard because of what's happening in COVID and what people go through.
Right.
And me holding on so tight, we hold on so tight to our things and the material things in the world we have to save. Our home, our family gets affected, our finances change. And so 16 years ago, my life really took another turn where I had to really give myself that care. And so that was a big one for me.
Okay, that's huge.
Yeah.
I've been working on this little limited series of NDEs, talking to people who have experienced NDEs and how it changed their lives and what they experienced. Can you talk a little bit more about what you experienced?
Everything just happened very quickly. When I went in, as women, we're all there for the same reason, to deliver a baby.
Sure.
And so I'm just being respectful and waiting my turn. Getting there, I ended up having an erupted placenta. And I'm getting yelled at, like, why didn't you say something?
Oh
And
no.
I'm like, well, I just knew I was having a baby and I'm waiting just like everyone else. So I just remember the family being in there waiting, my son, my oldest son, my sister-in-law, we were all there. We thought, okay, I was a young teen mom, so we're going to do this one different. I was 16 with my first child.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is 14 years later, I'm having my second. And so here we go, and everyone just gets booted out of the room so quickly. And things start happening so fast. And I just know that for me, all I could do was really pray. And so as I prayed, that I ended up getting toxemia. And so the needles wouldn't go in for the IV or for the medicine. And so when that happened, I was just like, oh my gosh, okay, God, this is in your hands. You got to go back to that source. And so when you're put in that situation, you're going back to what you know, to have faith that it's going to be okay. I didn't really see anything happen, but I knew for me traumatically, like, whoa, okay. We stayed in the NIC unit, ICU for 7 days, and just having to learn to rehab ourselves after, one, you just had a child. My child also went through an event where he got ill and, with the blood. And so
Wow.
all of that happens, and then you come back and, your anxiety level jumps up again. You're a new mom and everything shifts. Our emotions are vulnerable, and I couldn't take medication, and my body just does not do well with medicine. And so I had to deal with everything raw and the emotions. And I remember social services coming in. Are you okay? What's the matter? What has happened in your life? Like, I was being dissected because I was having, I had that event. So
Wow.
it definitely puts you in a place of something has to change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I learned the word surrender, to surrender and let go of the home, the cars, the work. And I have not worked in a working field because of that. They took me out. They're like, girl, you're done. You got to stay home. You got to work on you. So I was given the privilege to stay home and work on my traumas and work on my past. But that major event is what triggered me to have to go back to the things that I experienced in life. And so
Wow.
this is the outcome of what you get when someone gets to work on themselves,
Mm-hmm.
the
Oh,
deeper
that's so
healing.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, working on the self, on those old traumas from the childhood years through teens and 20. I mean, we all have them. We all have them.
Ah,
They look a little bit different. They look a little bit of the same, but a little bit, more magnified here or there. We all have them.
yeah. I always say there are some things sage cannot touch.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah.
I'm like, the sage is not doing it. I need someone to go in and rip it out and take the roots out and let's go.
Completely. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, it's so true. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I definitely feel as an adult, I have witnessed and seen as a medium, many of us trying to start our lives back up again and trying to, go back into this workforce, or, recreate our financials or our property, our family, because everyone gets affected when there's a traumatic event. And then the financial part of it changes. And so with that being said, I went through all that. And I feel like during this time of COVID, we are all rebuilding,
Yeah.
and we're all in that same place again. For many, we have lost loved ones, and we've also had people who have suffered long-term illnesses, and we also have people who still mourn the loss of the loved ones that are in grief.
Totally. Yep. Yep.
And I feel like that event, thank you God, I'm alive. And, being able to work through that and be able to say, okay, look at it with a fresh set of eyes and what other people are feeling and giving compassion out there collectively, right?
Completely.
So that experience gave me the compassion for others, for myself.
So, since we're talking about this, do you have any advice for people who are in that stage right now where they're really working through their traumas, where they're really healing those old emotional wounds, mental wounds, and some are probably physical as well,
Yeah.
So what would you say to those people who are in that space at this moment?
To be honest, it has to come from them. They have to want the change. It's so much more powerful when you make that conscious decision to make some changes in your life for you. We can sit and everyone can give the advice, but really that awareness and click has to come within them so that it sticks.
Yes.
So the first thing I would say is, are you ready? Are you ready for the change? Are you ready to release and to feel again? And ask yourself, where are you at in your grief? Start to observe where you're at in the moment of now. And give yourself compassion and grace for the things that you didn't know. Sometimes we're hard on ourselves when we go back and we're like, I should have done it this way, or I could have done it that way. And it doesn't matter. Make a phone call, create a team of people that are going to have your back, professionals. Make a doctor's appointment, seek a therapist, a psychiatrist if needed, a healer that you're comfortable with. Start to explore meditation, breath work, acupuncture. I'll tell you, I did herbalists, acupuncture, chiropractor, massage. I did it all.
Oh my gosh, I hear you. I had all of those people on speed dial.
Yes, because our
therapist, life coach, acupuncture, everything you're saying is what is totally. I mean, you're speaking to the choir right here. I mean, I totally get it. Everybody who would listen.
Yeah. And you want someone supporting you, that it's best to have someone that is neutral. And yes, we have friends, but friends start to have opinions and their feelings start to web within that may be a little different than what you're looking for.
Yep.
And so it's best to stay neutral. And when you do dive into your wounds or your layers, as we call them, doesn't happen overnight. So you got to give yourself permission and honor yourself for where you are in the now of your journey.
100%. Those layers. Yeah, that's the proverbial onion. The proverbial onion that just keeps peeling away and away.
Yeah.
Like, how much more of this onion do I have to get through?
Right. And then I'm like, where did this other onion come from? I don't even want that one.
Yeah. So, okay. Thank you for all of that. That was really beautiful. Okay, so moving through that, and you are discovering this innate sense within yourself where you're recognizing the spiritual senses and the spiritual connection and the connection to the other side, the people on the other side, the beings, the angels, guardians, whomever, right? As you started to tap into spirit, what is different today than what it was like for you at the beginning? Did you use other modalities to tap in? Were you ever a card reader or dowsing, the pendulum, Ouija board? I mean, anything like that? Did you?
Yeah, I can tell you that. Of course, I was always around others that were like me, and I found myself into different stores and different shops and getting cards read. And I had a lady that was very close to me, and we would learn to read the water. Like you could start going in and reading the waters or the candles when we would light them and we would do our work, and we would say, okay, do you see that person there? And I would be like, yeah, I see that person. And not realizing that, you know, that it was collecting the debris and it was collecting the energy within the home because the water was starting to form the vision of within, right? I used to read the fires when I was younger, when I would light the incense or just the coals, and I would be like, be able to read the fires. And that was in my 20s. So the difference, I had the honor to work with a beautiful lady named Miss Paula Mary, and she taught me how to read the crystal ball, the tea leaves, the charms, and her and I got to work on a radio station for almost a good year. And so having the tools at 15 and diving it in a different way in the now was like, whoa, okay. But there was spirit showing me. So the difference now, when I first started to read the coastal ball, she was like, do you see it? I'm like, I don't see nothing. I don't see what you see. And then spirit's telling me this. I'm like, but I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So I was really having to work into that exercise, because have you ever gone into a class when they say, okay, Jeffrey, we just want you to tell us what you see. And then you start saying, well, I feel.
Yes. Oh, totally. Yep. Yep.
So I had to learn how to use the new tools in the now.
Yep.
And that was super cool. So it was the guidance of spirit really being there with me. Prior, not having that full on blend was not there as deep as it is now.
Mhm.
So now I can hear when they come in and they're talking to me or they're guiding me through it or acknowledging, pay attention to this or be mindful of that. And so there's more of a deeper guidance for me in the now.
Mhm. I love
Mhm.
that. I love that. The beginning stages of our development is always so interesting because I well, the people that I've spoken with and even my own experience, we started off with all those tools,
Mhm.
and oh, and by the way, I love Paula Mary. I was with her on
Yes.
her radio show as well. So I didn't know
Uh-huh.
that you were on there for a year with her.
Yeah, we were on and off. We worked for a great year. She taught me a lot and I learned a
Oh,
lot
she's
from
beautiful.
her. Yeah, super cool lady.
Hmm. And I started off with the oracle cards, and then leading into the tarot cards, and then leading into the pendulum, and leading into the tea leaves, or
Oh,
even just suds at the bottom of the shower. You can read the
yeah.
suds at the bottom of the shower, and that'll tell you
Right?
something.
Yeah. So I think my healing more is what opened up again the mediumship part for me. So yes, I could do the intuitive. I was never really good at the cards. I would say, no way, I'm never good. I'm not doing cards. I remember getting a reading from one of my mentors and like, Deb, you're gonna do cards. And I'm like, no. And I didn't have any decks really. I had one oracle or two. This was like my first oracle deck that I ever had. And you could tell the wear and tear. I had it for like years, like over 10, 15 years plus.
Yep.
And so my girlfriend sent me new cards, and when I started working with Paula, sure enough, we're doing the cards, and I was like, she's right. I'm doing tarot like cards. I could never get into tarot. I just for whatever reason, my mind just couldn't process the tarot. Like it just couldn't.
Yeah.
I'd look at it and I'd be like, I don't know what you're trying to tell
They're
me
not
here.
speaking to me.
They're not speaking to me. It's not my language. So, but Reiki and healing, I started doing Reiki and just I listened to your story when you spoke on my show and how the loved ones started to really come in.
Yeah. Yep.
And that was really cool because you're starting to get into that ancestral healing.
Yes.
Yes, what the message is there, they're there, but the healing, that's the intent. We're going in to bring in that healing for that person, their loved one stepping forward as the ancestral healing begins and that
Yes.
extra deeper blend comes in for them. And so that's my passion. Like when I first started, it was like, I know I'm going to do Reiki. I know I want to do healing.
Hmm.
And I know that the energy work is flowing within me. So I was like, let's do this.
Yes.
Then it went into trance. Then I went into past life healing and karmic and all of that good stuff, goddess work. I mean, I've done it many layers of work for
Hmm.
myself and shamanic journey, but
Hmm.
all of that was for me, the
Yes.
healing for me.
Agreed.
And so, how that comes to the surface for a client or for someone that's working with me, the energy still flows through me because that is what I embody.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, after I became attuned to the Reiki, which blew me open,
Mhm.
I was working with the cards, and so like you were being told you're going to work with the cards, I was being told I was a medium. So I was,
Yes,
working with the cards, the oracle cards, tarot cards, all that, tons of them, and everybody kept telling me, you're a medium, you're a medium, you got to let these cards go, you're a medium. I'm like, what? And then they
yes.
started coming through during the Reiki treatments. So yeah, I Reiki is um truly incredible. I mean, an extension cord that gets plugged in. And so
Mhm.
many of us who experience Reiki and being tuned into it, I'm finding more and more that it just completely blows people open in ways
Yeah,
that they just weren't anticipating or expecting or did even know about.
yeah. Very true. And it also makes you go through your not shadow, but your layers, the
Oh,
things that you
completely.
have to deal with. So when you're also receiving the energy, it's also pushing stuff off of you, which it comes to the surface and you have to still deal with it.
Oh,
So it's a
completely.
beautiful process, and it's also a lot of miracles can unfold.
A lot of miracles, a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're being healed as you are doing treatments for other people. You're being healed at the
Yes.
same time. It's
Thank
all
you for
just
saying that. Yes. I think people need to understand, not need to, but I think it's important that we explain that part, that it's we are the vessel, the energy is coming through us and it's going to you. So we're all receiving. I think that as that continues forward, know that that's how simple it is, as your hat says, be kind.
yes,
We can do that without the Reiki and just let that same energy flow through us by just simply being kind.
truth.
Mhm.
Being kind goes a long, long way.
Yeah.
The ripple effect
Thank you. Yes.
is you can't even begin to understand what one kind act can do and
Hmm.
how it can spread out. It's just
Yeah.
it's really quite simple. But
And
we
it
all
is.
in life we just get mired with the anxieties and the pressures and the stress and the strain, and it's easy to forget. It's just easy to forget.
Yeah. And I think that was a perfect example of how we got so excited with Reiki and we're like, I'm getting the healing, you're getting the healing. And that ripple effect of just be nice, be kind.
Mm,
Could you imagine collectively how that'll shift all of us?
totally.
Like, let's come on, guys. Let's do this.
So with respect to your practice and your
Hmm.
readings and your
Hmm.
healings,
Hmm.
can you think of a specific incident where you were providing healing for somebody, whether it be with your mediumship or Reiki or um, whatever modality you were, guided to use in that moment?
Hmm.
Can you think of a story that the healing in that moment for that person just us blew you away, that just like stuck with you, that like afterwards, when I have these moments during readings, I get off the phone and I'll cry for like 10 minutes because it's so
Mm.
beautiful and overwhelming in a good way. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
like to be part of that is such a miracle.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what people love to hear these stories. They're just inspirational and
I think for me, when I had a girlfriend came in for a Reiki treatment, and I'm not in charge of what the person gets.
mhm,
So the healing that comes through is what is needed and what the person is ready for. And I think that's important that we understand that.
right.
And letting that healing come in deeper, I brought in my guides. She ended up having, this was like my first real, like observing a psychic surgery where she was numb. It was almost like you're in an operating table, lights everywhere. She couldn't move, she said. And I could see them and I can feel the guides coming in and they're working on her. And I can hear her say, we're going to do this. And I'm just holding space,
Yes.
observing, right?
Mhm.
The more the blend came in, I could feel almost me becoming that person. My energy, my face, at my hairline, things were shifting. And that was my first, like, whoa, I'm in trance. I call I'm like, okay, before I called someone, I'm like, okay, ground, 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 ground. Because when I was done, she was in tears and she was like, Debbie, what was that? Whoa. And I said, Mija, I don't know. Just know that you got a deep healing. Just let the energy go where it needed to go. And this is what you needed. And so just honor that. And I knew it was almost like I was stretched wide open, like my layer. And I was this big person, but I knew that I was one of my doctor guides. So I knew that I was a man there, and I knew that my energy was still very present when I was done. And so I'm saying, okay, ground this. Because if you ever gone into trance, the energy gets very like I'm not going to give the word sedated, but it gets very relaxing. And then it gives you that kind of like heavy feeling and you're like, ooh, airy. And it's, you know, you're not you yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like my first real like deep trance healing that was done. And letting the doctors come in, I'm just like, whoa. I call my teacher and I'm like, what was that? They're like, okay, girl, you got a very bright future ahead of you, but let's slow it down, you know?
Right. Yes.
And so for me, that is where my work started to shift. And the work that was coming in was different. And everyone is different. And
Mm-hmm.
when they come to me, they're not all going to get the psychic surgery.
Mm-hmm.
They're not all going to get the DNA upgrades or, you know, I know the balancing we can do with the Reiki and direction, but this work is a little different.
Can you
So
describe for people just quickly what psychic surgery, what does that mean for people who haven't heard that?
For me, it's where the guides, my doctor guides will come in. If there is something emotionally that you're working through, well, I literally will say for myself, I'll use me as an example.
Okay.
And I shared this in a talk the other day, and it was maybe about 9 years ago, we'll say. And I had my first psychic surgery. If I had many prior, it wasn't as intense as my own. I remember my guide coming in, talking to me, the nurses coming in, and you can literally feel a cut coming through into for me, it was my heart chakra. And I could feel the energy being drained or flushed or whether it's organs or things that you're working through. You can see them moving this and moving that for me. And for me, it was because my heart was hurt still. It was shielded. And so they were releasing the shield so that I can feel. And for me, I was given the prayer of Ezekiel, where the heart is hardened, will become flesh. And I will, you know, put in a new spirit within you. That was for me. That was my own personal journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, there are things that we experience that are emotionally happening to us that prevent us, that can affect us in the physical part of our body. So if it's an emotion that's attached to the physical, it can help you physically, but it's more within the emotional layer of the body. So for me, it was within my heart and letting them come in that deeper way to bring in that deeper healing for me.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah.
So then trance. Well, explain what trance means to people. What is trance? What's different about trance?
So trance, you're really working with the guides, and you're really, who are you calling on to, right? Who are you channeling in, and who are you giving permission to come closer? So for me, at that moment was my healer guide, my doctor guides. You know, depending on what the person shares with me, I call in a certain guide. And so at that time, this person was going through something very heavy and emotional.
Got it.
And so that guide came in. And so when you allow them to come closer as mediums, yes, we can bring in your loved ones and give the message.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also healing in the mediumship when a message is given. But when you're inviting the healing into the reading or healing into the session, you're allowing the blend to come closer so that that energy can flow to them in the way that they need it. And so when you become, it's almost like your eyes, their breath, your breath. And you're really giving them permission, let's say, to journey into the work that you're doing as if they are doing the work. You're putting the ego aside so that they can do what they need to do from the other side of the world. which is
so
heaven,
beautiful.
that
That's
heaven
beautiful.
world, right?
Yes. So speaking of the heaven world,
Mm-hmm.
what do you believe happens after we die? With the experiences you've had, what do you believe?
You know,
Or what do you know? I think is a better question. What do you
you
know?
know, to me, I have seen a lot of different things happen for my journey in the spirit world and heaven, we'll say.
Mhm.
Um, what comes to me when I was doing a reading, I remember watching someone's timelines pass through me before they passed. And I was open and I asked my teacher, I said, why did my reading just like, we're not even in the reading no more. I'm almost holding space for this soul that I know pass, not realizing that she was in the hospital and she was having some issues, right? And she says, well, Dad, there's so much more happening in the spirit world that we don't even know about that can happen. And so when before her passing, I can see her just sharing all the beautiful memories of what she remembered. It was like an upload of her memories and an upload of her timelines that were ascending in a different way. So that was one experience. Then when I go into a spirit world with, let's say we're going in for reading or they wanted to know what spirit world looked like. For me, I would see the flowers or that bright sun and the trees and the little kids, depending the vision of where you're at. Her and I were little girls because we were in the spirit world taking us to that deeper healing. And so we were playing in the flowers or that sunflower sunset type of vibration. So I've seen that. And then there was a period of time where I also had another experience and I was sick. And I remember reaching out for my son that I could see him, my oldest. And it was very holographic. He was like a hologram. And I would be like, where are you going? He's like, Mom, Mom. And so for me, I was like in this different world of timeline, right? And so when I was seeing him, I know that I saw him more in a different vision, in a different way. So there's different experiences for me when I see it. Um, when I journey for healing or when I open up for mediumship, or let's say the journey for myself when I started my healing journey, I believe that we're different for me. Okay.
Mhm.
I have journeyed one road where there's just people everywhere. And it's a vibration of a different world. Then your bridge opens and you're in another world. And that is another form, you're in a line with another people. So then you're going up. So you'll say lower, middle, upper world. And I walk through those worlds with them. When healing happens and souls leave for me, I can say when they're doing the soul work, I can see the souls come in and then I can see the souls leave. So when I'm connected into their world, I know that they're coming and getting ready to connect with me. Or there's work to be done. And so when I'm in that place, that's where the deeper healing goes for me. So everybody's perspective is different. So when I'm working, I'm in the worlds with others. But when I'm channeling or connecting in a read, it's a different, beautiful sight. And then when I'm holding space, you're getting that timeline. So everything is different in the spirit world. So how you want to perceive that and look at it, it's just like us. We're all working. We're all got a job. We're all doing something different. And so I would say it's a combination, just like it is here on Earth.
Mhm. Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh, we're already at like 45 minutes. So what would you like to let people know about with respect to your work? What do you want them to know that you're doing, your events, your classes, your teaching, where can people find you? What do you have that you want people to know about?
So I think for me, what's important is that people have a place that they can come back to, like a referral. If you're going through something and you're wanting to learn, I have my podcast. I'm guided to bring in other guests to share their stories, their techniques, their modalities, so that you can understand, hey, me too, you're not alone. We got you. The support in this work is so important. We've all come through different adversities, and we've had challenges where we, as mediums, intuitives, healers, creatives, artists, we have this open channel that floods through us with emotion, with grace, with passion. And so could you imagine the things that they have to go through because their mind is downloading constantly?
What is the name of your podcast?
Transcend with Debbie. Give these
Beautiful, by the
people
way.
some support.
It's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Thank
Everybody
you.
look at Transcend with Debbie, her podcast. And it's really, it's just the energy, the love, it's like an energetic hug every time you listen to her.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
true. It's true.
But I think it's important that we support each other in this
Yes.
work, in this world. And so that's what Transcend with Debbie is about. It's a platform for everyone to feel like, okay, I'm home. I understand this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have any events coming up that you'd like people to know about?
Well, the events that I have, I always try to go live on Thursdays. I have my TikTok, I have my Facebook page, my IG. This week I'll be doing an event, the Glen Tavern, which is all paranormal, which is super cool, which is a new area that I'm diving into. Thank you. And so I have a booth doing readings there, but we're going to do a little ghost walk and ghost tour with all the equipment, and looking forward to that this weekend. And of course, I have Stefan, which will be with me. He is a paranormal investigator, teacher, amazing guy. He's been on ghost adventures, been on travel, and like his life 30 years plus. I can't wait to interview him and work with him on Saturday or Sunday,
Yes.
excuse me. So just the guests that come in with this passion that they want to share, and just the lessons and experiences, like, let's go. That's what it's about. I know that this paranormal world has been really, really fun. Stuff is going to be airing very soon. It's very intimidating, by the way. TV is very intimidating.
I can
When you're,
imagine. Really?
when you're in there, you don't have time to really process. Everything happens so quickly.
Yeah.
And so when you're on TV, it's just like boom, boom, boom. And when you're in that place, you're like, whoa. So I'm there for them and for spirit.
Yes.
And so when I'm going in there and I'm working with somebody, or whether it be ghost hunters with my girlfriend, or if I'm doing, just a walkthrough, I'm there for them and for spirit. And
Yes.
so I try to stay out of the way the best way I can, and just let myself be present for them. It's very different. The work when it comes to paranormal, I will say, it's like mediumship. You're just flowing and spirits coming in. I don't feel afraid. I'm not afraid. I feel the love and the healing that comes through. And but again, I have not gone into the deeper haunted places, we'll say.
Yeah.
The one I'm doing this weekend, I was already feeling stuff happen that was very tragic. And I was like, I don't know the story until just yesterday. One of my girlfriends shared it or posted it, and I read it. And I was like, okay, that's what I felt.
Yeah.
So the impressions of when someone is hurt or lost tragically, I can feel that. And that's the same as a medium in the mediumship reading. So we feel when there's injury, we can feel the discomfort and the pain. So I can feel into that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when you were to look at it in a reading, it's the same feelings. The stories are just more heavier, more dense. There's a lot of healing that goes in, but they're also a lot of love, because they're humans, they're souls with love, right? And so if you find a soul, if you believe a soul is home, what do you say when they're not ascended? It's just different. It's just
I was
a
just going
different
to ask
healing.
that. Are they really consciously still here?
Okay, so I did an investigation with my friend Stefan, and we all see differently. Stefan can see them here physically, like a full-on body still here.
With
What
his
was it?
physical eyes?
He can physically see them with his physical eyes. He was like, oh, hey, how you doing? For me, I could feel the emotion of the person. This was more of the passing was a different tragic. It was self-inflicted. So the energy was very heavy. So the energy is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're going into that, what happens is, for me, my priest comes in and starts to do a blessing. So whatever was there, my guide came in and was like blessing them with holy water, and there was something happening, and we just kind of stepped away from the room in the investigation. I was able to tap into the emotion of it, and I was able to tap into what happened. But I can say this. Once the story is told and you give the message, it's like a healing of release that they got to be heard. So everyone's perception is different. I can tell you, after the investigation, it was so beautiful. A hawk flies, the sunset's going around the corner. There's like this little drumming going down. And so it was like, you could not have set that up any beautiful. A portal opens, people come out, all this beautiful light, and all the souls that were spoken to in this house walked in. So the healing was given. So how do you want to perceive that is up to you. Were they leaving, or were they healing and going to a different dimension?
Wow.
So that's up to you on your perception.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I say everyone's in heaven. I say we're just, again, that journey that I went through. There's different layers of journey, just like how we are here on Earth. That's how I see it. That's my perception.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jeffrey.
So Debbie, what would you like to leave people with? Do you have any words of wisdom before we close up?
Just love yourself for where you are in your journey. Love you for where you're at. Once you start to love yourself, it'll ripple effect to others. Be gentle with yourself for things that you did not know. Give yourself grace and understanding for those that have been part of your journey. Let them be part of your journey, but don't let them hinder you. Evolve and transcend always.
Beautifully stated. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Debbie, I love you to smithereens. You're amazing.
Yay. You're amazing, Jeffrey. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here with us. And I do want to ask you back because I have so many more questions.
Well, I'm always here for you. You're adorable. I appreciate you on having me here on something super spiritual.
Thank you.
Thank you again for listening to the Something Super Spiritual podcast. If you know someone who would enjoy this episode, please do share it with a friend. For show notes, links, and to purchase a mediumship reading, my website is somethingsuperspiritual.com. You can also easily subscribe and follow the show on your favorite app, sign up for my newsletter for bonus content, and to keep the conversation going, you can easily join the Facebook community. It's all right there at the website, somethingsuperspiritual.com. Signing off for now, namaste.